Hi, my name is Toni Mehler. I've written a book. It's called The Beautiful Gathering. It could begin in Siberia, or in Bosnia, or in Cambodia, or Rwanda, or Darfur. But it begins in a Nazi ghetto in 1939, because that is where my own mother's story began. My parents were concentration camp survivors, and I am their only child. I was born in Germany after World War II and grew up in South America, in the burgeoning primitive country where much of this tale takes place. When I was 8, I began writing about my parents' wartime experiences. Much of it was what I imagined, but most of it was what I overheard. These words, and many others that I heard over the years, knitted themselves into this book, knitted themselves into The Beautiful Gathering. And I'm going to read an excerpt from it. People had already gathered at the gates of the ghetto when I got there for my work detail, even though it was early. We waited. A guard signaled one of our policemen and said something to him. The policeman nodded and faced us. He asked for volunteers for a new work assignment. Sorting clothes. Easy work. Slowly, I raised my hand. There were plenty of raised hands in the crowd. More than were needed. The new work assignment started right away, and we marched to its location. When we reached the place, some of us were sent to stand by the large piles of clothes on the floor and were told to sort them by size and category. The others were told to bundle the sorted clothes into lots. We began to work. Almost as soon as I touched the things, I realized where they came from. I looked around, but no one said or did anything. Did they know too? I kept my hands moving. After a while, I started wondering how it had been done. Not the killing. The clothes. Why did they want them? And what were we sorting them for? Whatever it was, those who collected them must have known that if the clothes were to remain useful, they would have to be removed without violence, with care. The people must have been ordered to undress themselves and their children. They probably undressed their children first. On the other hand, it was winter. Maybe they undressed themselves first. We finished our work and went back to where we lived. The next day, the piles were as tall as they had been when we started. And when I got close to mine, I thought that I recognized a hat. Immediately, I decided that everything had been unsorted and put back for us to resort. But I knew that wasn't possible. Was it? If these things were not yesterday's, then I had imagined recognizing the hat, and I told myself that several times. I even mumbled it. I imagined it. I imagined it. I imagined it. Sometimes during that week, I started to steal garments that were still nice. Usually children's clothes and shoes. I hid them on my body, and I traded them for food during our marches through the town, either coming or going from the sorting place. Others were taking things too, although we never discussed it. Every day I traded something, and every night I brought something back, usually bread or potatoes, and once an egg. Twice, I was given a small chunk of butter for little socks with embroidery on the ankles. My children ate it all gladly and would sometimes come to the door when I returned from the work detail to ask what I had for them. I couldn't eat any of it at first.